This is Good Morning Mumbai, and you're with Hrishi K.
Radio One.
My guest of the day is Sujay Chohan, really exciting the personality, an entrepreneur par excellence, and his 2 decades of business experience have culminated in something known as Ocean Blue. Sujay, welcome to the show.
Good morning, Hrishi. Good morning, Mumbai.
Okay, I got to ask you, what really is Ocean Blue all about? And a fabulous name. You have to tell me how you arrived at that.
Well, let me begin with what Ocean Blue is all about. Ocean Blue is all about trying to get Indians on the water. We have this amazing coastline. I'm a Mumbai boy, and I always wondered why we haven't seen more boats on the water. And that's what got me intrigued into sort of starting the whole boating scene in India. And that's sort of very exciting. 2007, we did the first boat show to really kickstart the industry. And that got the momentum going. The 2 shows we had in 2008 were literally so well received. We had literally hundreds of people coming. In fact, I think on the first show we had almost about 12,000 people visited the show. Very exciting, and that led to what you see now at Gateway of India. A huge plethora of yachts, everything from a small kayak to big super yachts coming in. And Ocean Blue then sort of looked at it more from a perspective of where do we want to go. And one of the things we realized earlier on that to really expand the industry, we have to get into manufacturing. So one of the things we did was we got into manufacturing. We have a joint venture with Mahindra's where we manufacture boats in India. And now that company is growing. We're getting into big yachts now. In fact, we're going to launch one this week, which is a 14-meter, the first of its kind in the country. So that's exciting. We're into aluminium boat building for the commercial space too. And the most important, infrastructure. Marinas. Marinas is the heart of the boating activity. If you travel globally, you will find marinas everywhere. And that's one thing where we have not been very successful. We've been lobbying the government for almost 7 years now. We've got one marina going in Kochi. Of all places, Kerala was the most proactive to build the first marina in India, which we inaugurated in 2010. And we are hopeful that Mumbai will see one soon.
Somehow I'm not able to connect the dots. Here's a guy who was in IT research, analysis, advisory, that line of business. You ran your own BPO, before that advertising and publishing, and you just give it all up to do Ocean Blue. How did that happen?
Well, it's very interesting. It's interesting you say connect the dots because I'm a big fan of Steve Jobs, and his speech in 2006 to the Stanford students actually talked about connecting the dots. That's what it was all about. And he said many things happened in your life which at that point in time you probably feel depressed about or excited. But it's only later on when you can actually see that it was all meant to take you to a certain path. To give you my story, I was in the advertising and marketing advisory business, but that was very focused on the IT industry. These were early days when Wipro used to be a Shikakai soap company. And, HCLs and other companies used to sell fax machines and EPBXs, not the big giants they are today in IT. And I was sort of advising a number of companies in those days coming into India and helping them establish here. And that's what sort of led one thing to the other. And that's how I started out doing what is now called knowledge process outsourcing, or BPO.
I'm going to ask you to hang on there. We're going to take a song and we're going to come back, yeah? Knowledge process outsourcing, BPO. Sujay Chohan, from there to Ocean Blue, which is sailing and a whole lot more. He's really found his calling. It's extreme. Get the funk out.
Taking you all the way to 12 noon. This is Good Morning Mumbai. Only on
94.3 Radio One.
Sujay Chohan is my guest today. He runs Ocean Blue yachts, charters, marinas. He has them all. Okay, let's talk about this amazing, exquisite line. You've shown me some pictures.
Yes.
Fortunately, radio is a pure audio medium, so we're going to depend on on everybody who's listening to get your picture with words of these lovely kayaks. And these are what? Speedboat kayaks? Talk a little bit about that.
Well, very interesting. What's happening with technology becoming so accessible and engines becoming smaller that we've introduced a whole new category of boating, which is a kayak with a jet engine on it. So it's a jet kayak, which is incredible because I think the real thrill of the water, if a lot of people or the audience out there must have been on jet skis when they've gone to Goa.
Yeah.
And that's a thrill, but you're sitting about 3 feet above the water. imagine having that same thrill sitting 3 inches above the water on a kayak. So the kayak is the most, how should I say, raw form of boating. It's the most basic form of boating, which any individual can get. You can get a kayak as low as 20,000 rupees to these big, these powerful jet kayaks out there for about 3.5 lakhs. And being a very light product, you can carry it in your car anywhere. You can put it into a lake, into a river, or into the sea, and sort of have your moment of thrill. And excitement.
I think, in effect, you've actually answered Apo Pulko's question on Twitter. He said kayaking is the most basic form of sailing. How does one do that in Mumbai? How much does it cost? So he's actually told you how much you can pay, or a ballpark figure if you were to buy your own kayak.
That's right.
Other than that, there is all these amphibious, what do I call them? Crafts? Certainly crafts.
Absolutely. And, one of the things which we noticed very early on in India, because it was literally a blank slate. It was starting from scratch. The very basic forms of boating has not been seen here. But there's so much interesting stuff happening there. Boating industry in Europe, America is like, hundreds of years. They, in fact, became global powers. They became global powers because of sailing. And they had the might to go across the world and conquer nations. So obviously they're way, way ahead. But, we're catching up. We're bringing those products to India. So one of the things we realized very quickly in India is that there's no infrastructure. Marinas, jetties, where people can access the water. I think one of the reasons a lot of people in India have not gone to the water is because the access is so limited. And that's one of the things we're hoping government is now going to sort of kickstart, because we have a fantastic waterfront. And we really need to get more people out there, get active. So we introduced the line of Sea Legs. It's an amazing amphibious boat. It's been designed to drive into the water from the beach. And on the water, it performs just like any other very fast boat. So that's a very, very innovative product which is coming in. Very good for law enforcement. And, we just sold one to a person who can drive right into his house on the beach. So he goes into the water, gets out, drives straight into his house, parks it, walks off. And how cool is that? We're also now in talks with bringing in another very, very interesting product. I won't name it, but that's going to be like an ATV which you can drive into the water.
Wow.
An ATV is an all-terrain vehicle. Yeah. So you can drive from your farm straight into the beach and out there.
I'm just curious to know, in terms of B2C engagement, right, directly to the consumers. I know there is some activity happening just off Chowpatty. I don't know if it's still called H2O, but the former H2O.
Right.
Are you looking at that arena too?
Oh, absolutely. We're, in fact, we've looked at engaging state governments to bring in professional level, high quality and safe water sports. So we've tied up, for example, already with the ANETCO government, which is the Andaman and Nicobar Island chain, and we have a very large water sports center there.
Super.
Which is the first one of its kind in the country. We do a very, very massive activity there. And we are now, we begin to resonate with governments that we need to have safe and professionally run water sports, because what's happening is it's more of a mom and pop shop. Safety goes out of the window in those kind of operations. And one accident in a sport like this sort of kills the industry. So that's resonating now, and we're hopeful that in this year alone we'll have 4 such operations with governments across India and expand
Take
that
it
over
further.
time.
It's Michael Jackson, Thriller. Enjoy. 9:29 in conversation with Sujay Chohan from Ocean Blue. What a lovely, lovely precursor to the Micromax Get Some Sun with Radio One activity. Sujay Chohan in studio talking about Ocean Blue, his baby, if I can call it that, yachts, charters and marinas. And there is a bit of a backstory to this. Rock climbing, sailing, trekking, and paragliding,
That's
which
right.
actually you got into
Sort of
perchance.
pioneered. Yeah.
Sort of pioneered then. Talk about those days.
Well, every sort of moment I had in my college days was spent up in the Himalayas, which is where I still find a lot of peace. And so spent a lot of time trekking, doing some of the trekking peaks and climbing in that part of the world. I used to be an instructor with the WWF, which is the Worldwide Fund for Nature in those days. And that bug is still with me. And I remember in the 90s, we heard about paragliding and the sport. In very early days on the internet. So we decided, a couple of friends and me, to actually import one. And we made a very early internet purchase for a paraglider. and got it delivered by DHL. The customs had no idea what that box contained. They'd never seen a paraglider before, and it got delivered to my doorstep, which was incredible.
You're lucky because I had to make the rounds of the customs office near Dockyard, and all I needed was a soundproof booth, to record at home.
Oh my God. Like I said, they were early days, and no one was the wiser, and sort of that led to, us getting into paragliding. And it was very, very innovative. In 1997, I remember, the only thing we did was what is called a top-down flight, because that's all we knew. You get up to a hill, jump off, and you glide down. So we looked for the highest place from a top-down flight, and we found it was a place called Guru Shikhar in Mount Abu, which had a 5,000 feet peak, from which you sort of took off, and you said you got a nice glide back down, because we didn't know how to climb or thermal in those days. And that's when I learned that training is very important, because I tore all my ligaments on my left knee, made a bad landing, and then we decided it's time to learn now. So after I recovered from that, I went to the United States, to Columbia, a district of Columbia in the state of Washington, and flew in the backcountry there for about 10 days learning how to paraglide. And
necessity is the mother of invention.
Absolutely. And now it's become a big sport. It's an organized sport. India is now holding world championships in paragliding in a place called Bir in Himachal Pradesh. And it is an extremely exciting.
Lovely.
If people haven't tried that, they should.
Listen, as far as sailing is concerned and water sports is concerned, if people want to actually go out there and you can create an experience for them, is there a number they can call or a website they can go to or an email ID that they can write to?
Sure, absolutely. Our whole approach has been that we want to give every conceivable experience to get people on the water. And from a kayaking sort of trip to a sailing or a powerboat experience or even water sports, all they got to do is just call Ocean Blue on 6615-3001.
Just repeat that again.
6615-3001.
And that's a board line. So who do they ask for?
Board line asks for Radhika or for Umesh, and they'll be more than happy to walk them through how we can help them, or just send an email to us on info@oceanblue.in.
Lovely. On that note, Living in a Box by Living in a Box. 9:36. Sujay Chohan from Ocean Blue in studio. Messages and back. More pictures of him at social networking. At the rate of HRISHIKAY, Facebook.com/HRISHIKAY, the Radio One Mumbai Facebook page. One space, your question and comment, and named 53650.
At least a couple of $1 billion in the next decade if the government gets into the act and builds the infrastructure. And it can create a whole opportunity of employment along the waterfront, because a young Kohli fisherman, the young kids don't want to get into the fishing scene like their parents do. And all have aspirations. And they can all be employed or re-employed in the boating scene. If you look at the south of France, we have the same kind of coastline from Mumbai to Goa, 200 kilometers. What was south of France in the 40s and 50s after the war?
And what is it now?
Look at it now. 60% of the GDP of south of France today comes from marinas and boating-related activities. And there's no stopping Mumbai to Goa becoming the same way. You can get a small boat if you have a marina every 25 nautical miles and get out there and spend an incredible opportunity on the water. So I hope some government official is listening and, we'll see the light and
I'm sure.
We'll see something coming soon.
Okay, Ocean Blue, experience the sea in Mumbai. Congratulations, Betsy Zakaria. You're the first person to actually reach out on Twitter. Absolutely correct. I'd asked you guys to pick one profession, one former profession that Sujay Chohan indulged in, and she's right. It's the IT business. And congratulations, Pooja from the contest department is going to reach out to you very soon. You are our team of sun chasers. We're going to take lessons on sailing, and Sujay and his able crew are going to teach us the ropes, and that's a weekend activity we planned as sun chasers, all of us together. So congratulations. The rest of you, fret not, because I'm going to be actually picking out a total of 3 winners on my show, as will Anita and Erica, who are our other presenters, and we're going to build this whole sun chaser community going sailing. The Backstreet Boys, everybody, 9:48.
This is Good Morning Mumbai, and you're with Hrishi K.
Radio One.
Somebody called Jolly Good Fellow on Twitter says, please ask Sujoy to come up with a floating restaurant. I miss Susie Wong a lot.
We are planning one of those.
You are planning that, eh? That's quite cool. Why should... It's an elementary question, and you have so much to say about this. Why should somebody get into the water? Why should somebody take up sailing as their calling, so to say? Talk.
Well, it's just not sailing. Or I'm just saying...
Water activity, yeah.
I'm just saying simply get out there. And one of the things which I've seen is probably difficult to relate for most people because we take it for granted that we are sort of kind of a safe people.
Yeah.
We're not taking risk. We're not out there, doing cutting edge stuff. We're not trying to innovate. And we've always been a nation where people say this movie was copied, or that thing was lifted, or that product was just a rip-off. And I can understand that in the early days of of our independence, but I think your parents encourage the kids to go out there and do more, which is one of the activities of sailing. And in India, we've always said, "Beta pani pe mat ja." There's a risk and danger there. But I think risk is all about innovation. And until you're learning to take risks, you'll never know whether you will sort of be out there and make something new happen. So follow your dream, take the risk, and if you get on the water, well, risk wear a life jacket if you can't swim. And in fact, I jokingly tell people the guys who can't swim are turning out to be the best sailors because they can't afford to fall in the water.
Correct.
So I sort of relate that, and I think the younger people today need to get out. Well, we talked about vitamin D. It's alarming how many young children today are having that deficiency. They're sitting at home, internet, iPads and stuff. Get out, get on the water, spend more time catching the sun, like you were saying, and it helps across the board, building character, building the ability to take risks and coming out learning from that.
Just throw out your Twitter handle, your Facebook page, as well as your website. And I'm also very, very keen to know about this whole luxury boating magazine, India Boating, that you're running. I really believe that in the media, you've got to have all these allied fields. We, for example, we started streaming live digitally, right, and suddenly it's taken us to another level. Likewise, you, with all your passion for sailing and boating and the international boat show that you've done, where did the genesis of the luxury boating magazine, which is India Boating, come about?
Well, one of the things which I also did was publishing back then, again, which was born out of IT. Back in 96, 97, we launched MIS, which was India's first magazine aimed at CIOs. This was in a sort of collaboration with a company called Strategic Publishing Group from Australia. We eventually got acquired by Fairfax Corporation in Australia in 2000. So I have that experience of launching a magazine in a whole new category. And when we were doing getting into the boating industry, both Malav and I realized that one of the first things we need to do is prime the market, because boating never elicited any response from people here. And so we decided to do the first boat show in 2007. And along with the boat show, we launched India Boating, which was India's first boating magazine. And the idea was to reach out to people. And we ran that, both the show and the magazine, for 3 years, which we then sort of spun off. We got out of that business. It got acquired and moved on. So yeah, India Boating, and I think India needs more boating magazines, more mainstream magazines, and probably even shows to reach out to people.
Oceanblue.in is his website, www.oceanblue.in, if you want to find out more stuff about this. Bob Marley, you want to dedicate this to your daughter?
I would love to dedicate a Bob Marley song. She shares a lot of my music, and she grew up listening to a lot of my music, and she really loves it. So,
and now you're listening to her music.
Now I'm sharing her music. Yeah, that's really cute. She's going to be 16 in June, and she's now busy in her exams. So yeah, if you can play One Love
there we go.
to me, that would be great.
And you're on Ocean Blue Live, I think, on Twitter as well as Facebook.
Yeah, on Twitter we are at Ocean Blue India.
Okay, Ocean
and
Blue India.
On Facebook we are www.facebook.com/Ocean Blue India.
Ocean Blue India.